What is up, Dallas Cowboys fans? Good morning to you on a Tuesday. Welcome into the Dallas Cowboys Daily Blitz podcast live at 7 a.m. It is yours truly, IndyCarTim, and if you're here, you're a real one. We appreciate you guys tuning in, watching us live each and every morning, or watching later on the FanStream Sports YouTube channel, or wherever you get your podcasts, whenever the hell you want, because that's how we roll. All of the options for you. You can watch this ugly mug every morning, or you can listen to the ugly voice sounds that I have out of my throat on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, on, I don't know what those things are. Y'all know how to do it. If you're listening, obviously you know how to do it, because that's how we do it. You know, the Cowboys aren't playing, but the NFL playoffs are rolling along, and they're still handing the Cowboys gifts like it's Christmas in January. We're going to dig into the Cowboys defensive coordinator search because we have an early favorite emerging, boys and girls. We'll talk about Jim Leonhard. We'll talk about the fit, the scheme, and the one thing nobody likes to talk about, but everybody needs to hear, tackling. Plus, wildcard weekend changed the math for Dallas in a big way and quietly upgraded the Cowboys' draft flexibility. Make sure you hit like, subscribe if you're new. Drop this in the video chat right now. Would you hire Jim Leonhard as the Cowboys' defensive coordinator? Yes or no? Drop it in the chat. You don't have to tell me why. Honestly, I don't care why. I just want to know if you like Jim Leonhard, if you think that's the right pick. Of course, we're going to talk about all of the candidates until they settle on one. But today we're talking Jim Leonhard. Before we get into it, though, boys and girls, we have got to give you your daily dad joke. If you would like to submit your dad joke, info at fanstreamsports.com. Make sure you use dad joke in the subject line and then give me your joke, your name and your address, where you're from, and all that good stuff, and we'll credit you on the air, and we will send you a FanStream Sports t-shirt for free. Now, we changed it. You might have heard hats. I explained on yesterday's show, I'm running low on hats. Go figure. I didn't know that was going to be a thing. Look, I don't control inventory. I was just told, hey, can you make it shirts for a little bit? Let us maybe restock some hats. I'm like, because we also have people buying these hats on our website, by the way. If you just want to buy one, you can, or a shirt or whatever. We got mugs, we got koozie, whatever. FanStreamSports.com, click on the merch up at the top, and you can get all of that. But, yeah, so we got people buying these things, too. I'm not just giving them away. So we're short on hats. So we're doing shirts for a while. We got them. Assorted colors, whatever. But it is time for that dad joke. And we go this time to Cumming, Georgia. Cowboys fans, apparently. And Steve in Cumming, Georgia says, did you hear about the bossy man at the local bar? He ordered everyone around. Thank you, Steve. And you know what's funny is, I think I told this story yesterday. I showed, it was this specific one that I showed to a coworker. One of my on-air cohorts up in the Ohio sector of FanStream Sports, and he didn't get it. And I literally had to explain it 3 times. I told it 3 times to him on the phone. And finally, after the 3rd time, he was like, yeah, cool. And he says he got it, but I don't think he did. But that's why these things are funny. If you get it, you get it. Join the club. You're in. I love it. All right, Dallas Cowboys news. Let's go. Quick roll call, though. Where are you guys watching from this morning? And what are you doing when you watch the show live? Are you having breakfast, getting dressed? Are you in the shower? I mean, maybe I don't need to know that. But if you're listening later on the audio, again, we appreciate you. Rate the show, leave a review, send this episode to the friend who still thinks defenses don't matter in the NFL. All right, the Cowboys need a defensive coordinator, and the name getting all of the early buzz is Jim Leonhard. He is currently Denver's assistant head coach and defensive passing game coordinator. And before everybody says Denver's defense is good. Just bring that here. Well, let's slow down for just 1 second because, again, Leonhard is not the defensive coordinator. That is Vance Joseph. That is his defense. Leonhard is part of it, but he's not the play caller. So the real question for everyone is, what would Leonhard bring of that defense to Dallas? Would it look like that if he's actually running the show? And here's why this is interesting. He's not married to one scheme. He comes from a very Rex Ryan influenced background where you're creative, where you like to create pressure. And if you've watched his Wisconsin defenses, they were tough, they were disciplined, and they were multiple. There were mixes of multiple schemes there. He wasn't flashy. He was just effective. And isn't that all we really care about? We don't care what it looks like at this point after watching last season. We just need it to be effective. And that versatility matters. Dallas cannot keep living in a world where they say, this is what we do, go ahead and stop us. That worked in the 90s. It doesn't work anymore for the Cowboys. Good teams don't get stopped. They get figured out. So if Leonhard comes in, expect kind of a foundation, I think, of cover 1 and cover 3 concepts, but with a little creativity sprinkled on top. Think like a familiar structure with better answers and more change-ups. Same song, better remix, kind of. Now, of course, there are real concerns that we need to think about with Leonhard. He would be a first-time NFL play caller. And even though he's done it at the collegiate level, he's never done it at this level. And there's also a question about his staff. Can he attract the right assistants? Your secondary coach, your defensive line coach, your linebackers coach. All of those hires matter almost as much as the coordinator hire itself. And I don't know if I have specific concerns about that with Jim Leonhard, but I think it's a question that needs to be asked. So the takeaway for Dallas, if you're seriously considering Jim Leonhard, it would suggest to me that Brian Schottenheimer has a real influence on this search. And that, my friends, is notable. And don't forget, Denver could also try to keep him if Vance Joseph gets a head coaching job somewhere. So if the Cowboys want him, they cannot sit on their hands. They need to act. Vance Joseph has interviewed for head coaching jobs, and rightfully so. So if Vance Joseph gets hired tomorrow as a head coach, there's a real chance Denver might make him an offer to become the DC. And then the Cowboys are out. If that's the guy you want, then you're screwed. If you want someone else, then it doesn't matter. So let's also consider this. Dallas doesn't just have a scheme problem. The scheme, yes, was part of the problem for Matt Eberflus last season. But one of the biggest issues for Dallas was tackling. They had a massive tackling problem. I've never seen so many missed tackles in my life on one team in games. It was ridiculous. And you cannot survive in the modern NFL if your secondary doesn't want to or know how to tackle. Offenses are just too fast. Teams will screen you, they'll slant you, they'll force your corners and safeties to make decisions in open field. And if they don't want to tackle, if they don't know how to tackle, you're screwed. We saw it all over Wild Card Weekend. Teams, the lower seeds with less overall talent, survived because they tackled well and they played disciplined football. So if I'm hiring a DC, my first question is very simple. What is your non-negotiable defensive identity? If the answer isn't flying to the ball, tackling, and finishing plays, go find somebody else. If Dallas wants to blitz more next season, that means the secondary has to be smarter and tougher. Not necessarily elite lockdown corners. Just give me guys who can communicate, who can understand leverage, and who will put people on the ground. It's pretty simple, boys and girls. Defense is pretty simple. Now let's talk a little bit about the Wild Card Weekend and how the Cowboys won on Wild Card Weekend without even playing. Well, that's because Green Bay lost to the Bears. Ugh. God, how embarrassing for the Packers to lose to that fiasco of a team with that fiasco of a quarterback. But it benefits the Cowboys because their extra first-round pick now will end up being the 20th pick, the number 20 pick. Add that to the Cowboys' own pick that is at number 12. And, there's a lot of different ways the Cowboys can go with that. We're going to get into that way more as we get closer to the draft. There's a lot of possibilities. Right now, I have my own thoughts on what they should do. That doesn't mean I won't change my mind. But we will get into that. So, whenever they made that pick, just before the season started, I think most of us assumed it would be late 20s, maybe even pushing 30. But number 20 changes things drastically. It opens a couple of options. Now you have 2 potential day one starters. And look, I've said it before. I am a big fan of first-round draft picks up to about number 14 or 15. Ask anybody that knows way more about draft picks than me. Once you get to the midpoint of the first round, a lot of those guys that get picked after that are second-round grades. Doesn't mean you can't get a day one starter. So you could get potentially a day one starter if the draft goes the way that it would have to go to make that happen. But you could also trade back to stack some picks or the flexibility to move up if there's a guy the front office likes ahead of 12. Don't forget, the Cowboys do not have a second or third round pick this year. They have the 2 number ones, then they have their 4th. So if you would like to acquire a second or third round pick, maybe to find a running back for yourself, I still think maybe you need to look at defense, but maybe get you a running back. You have that pick to trade and maybe get you a couple of thirds, a second and a third, late second, late thirds, whatever. Lots of options with that. And we'll get into all those scenarios later. So, but the kind of option is huge when you're trying to fix the defense, to have that option. So here's the chat question for everybody. I just said what I think I want to do. Again, I reserve the right to change my mind as we get closer to the draft. What would you like to do? Do you want to use both first-round picks? Or would you like to trade back and add some ammo? Just leave it here in the chat for me underneath the YouTube video in the comment section. Or if you want to find me on social media, at IndyCarTim, pretty much everywhere you can look, you can find me. Google me, as Kurt Signetti famously said. All I do is win. Google me. So, look, what does Dallas need to do next? Here's my blueprint. Hire a defensive coordinator with new ideas and real accountability. Fix the tackling culture through both coaching and personnel. Use the draft to add immediate contributors, not projects. The Cowboys don't need projects. They need, at least in the early rounds, contributors now. Stop hiring guys just because you're familiar with them. The NFL doesn't care who you know. It cares who hits. Boom. As John Madden would say, boom. I kind of look like John Madden if you shave the beard. That's why I have the beard. So that's where we are, boys and girls. That's where I think we're at. Again, let me know in the comments section or on social media how you feel about all of this. Who do you want for DC? Would you hire Jim Leonhard right now, yes or no? Do you want the Cowboys to use those 2 first-round picks or trade them? That's all I need, simple, short answers. We'll discuss all of these later. Again, special thanks to Steve from Cumming, Georgia, for his dad joke of the day. We'll have another one for you tomorrow on Wednesday right here on the Dallas Cowboys Daily Blitz podcast, live at 7 a.m. I'm not going to take a nap, boys and girls. I'm not going to lie. It's easy. If you want to hear more of my crap, the J.P. Peterson Show, fanstreamsports.com. It's our local Tampa show, 9 to 11 Central, 10 to 12 Eastern. As I talk some Tampa sports with you. Those Buccaneers are in a wreck of an off-season too, so I got lots of stuff to talk about. Until tomorrow, boys and girls, we'll see you.